has been interrupted. This is something that interrupted it. When you're trying to find the point from which you could see the whole, interrupted it. This is, would you agree, this is an interruption from what you're saying? This is an interruption. Betty. So therefore, we're getting further information on the problem of interruption.
Gee,
Now,
I don't know, familiar.
I can't hear those.
It's familiar.
What is familiar?
The idea of interruption.
All right. Were you absorbed? Sorry you missed him. Were you absorbed in this experience? You're right. You're sorry. It produces an effect.
Long-lasting.
Fine, but insofar as
It was intense.
this was intense, more please.
Sharp.
Sharp, more please. See, we're going to get a contrast between the ideas here and in the first act, aren't we? Naturally. Go ahead. Intense, sharp,
Piercing.
piercing. Go ahead.
Jolting.
Jolt.
And
Hmm?
yeah, that intensity is real clear. Like everything else is wiped out.
Then,
So it has that erasing kind of quality.
good. You're having this talk, whatever it is, it was wiped out as you called it, with Betty interrupting by telling you that Sam called. That got you into this intense, sharp, piercing, jolting state of mind. And that's another way of talking about what interrupted this talk.
Okay.
Ah. Hmm. So not only did she interrupt it, but it opened up this experience, which was, for however long it lasted, an interruption. Two kinds of interruption, aren't they? Right? The news, someone doing this. You found it irritating, did you not, that Betty would do this? Number one, right? And number two, of course, the effect it had on you. Ah. Now, a moment ago, you said you're familiar with this idea of interruption, aren't you? Talk about it.
Oh, it's a lifelong struggle. A lifelong struggle.
I don't know what that means. Go ahead, talk about it.
Getting heavily into something I'm reading and having some thought pull me away. Gosh. Already doing 3 or 4 things at work and having the 5th and 6th things come in.
So this is going on.
Some of it's good and some of it's
This
not.
is going, and then something does this,
Right.
and according to the dream, what do you lose as a
Beauty.
consequence?
Beauty.
All of this,
Yeah.
and the fine talk.
Right.
Huh. Could it be that this is rather interesting? It's a lifelong, you probably recognize it. All right, look here. There are many ideas in here that we are not exploring any further. We're just leaving it the way it is. We're not looking at any of the images. Right, purposely, we're not looking at any of the images. All right, will you tell us the next dream, please?
Walking in the city that's along a waterway.
Ah, good. See, waterway.
And I have 2 things with me that I think belong to my mother. A big coat and some kind of thing to step onto, to ride, which I was able to use to go down this one steep place. At one point I walked out by the water and left both those things sitting on the ground. And when I turned around to come back and get them, I was anxious to get them before I lose them. But the thing was, I was wandering farther and farther away.
See, just stay there, please.
Yeah.
Say it again. Anxious.
I was anxious to get them before I would lose them.
Well, go ahead.
But the thing was, I was wandering farther
Okay.
and farther away.
You go back before the anxious. Come on. You left the two things by the edge of the water. Go ahead.
At one point, I walked out by the water and left both of those things sitting on the ground. And when I turned around to come back and get
Look here.
them,
Go ahead. And when I turned around to get them, before I'd lose them,
and then this is the state of mind. I was anxious to get them before I lose them. This is why, when I turn around, this is the state of mind I'm in.
go ahead.
But the thing was, I was wandering farther and farther away from where I was supposed to go.
Mm-hmm.
I started out to take a short walk to see if I could get there a different way. And I kept finding that I was cut off from getting back. And I kept walking farther away, and there were all these places that I walked
Right.
by.
Right? Going to go for short work. Cut off. What's the other one? Cut off.
Cut off from getting back. Okay, let's see. I kept finding that I was cut off from getting back.
See, cut off from getting back.
Oh, brother. Here it is. You've already
What do you mean here it
keyed
is?
in on. I didn't notice this, but the cut off from getting back.
Yeah,
It's another way of getting interrupted or cut
that's
off.
right.
Just
See,
chop
same theme is going to pick up.
it, chop it, chop it, chop it.
Go ahead.
But I kept walking farther away.
Right? And going further and further away. Seeing this beautiful picture here? Gosh, going further and further away each time. Ah, art. Go ahead.
And there were all these places that I walked by that had no access back to the water.
No access back.
And here is a familiar wormhole coming up. Hotels and places where people are having big receptions, and so the rest of the dream is I'm walking by all these places, seeing all the things they're doing.
Go ahead.
Okay, hotels and places where people were having big receptions.
Right? Go ahead.
People were doing these real advanced exercise type
Look here.
things.
Doing what?
Exercise type things.
Was that a feature in the previous dream?
Yes.
An exercise, a practice?
And it
Go
was
ahead.
beautiful too, what they were doing.
And it's beautiful.
They were art forms.
Art forms.
There was one huge wedding. One
Yeah, look
huge,
at that. Look at that. Isn't that great? Yeah.
and there's a wedding. And there was one huge group was learning how to fish.
No, here they are.
That was funny too. And I was walking by all this stuff, interested in getting back to the water, and interested in being able to figure out how to get back to where I started from, without turning around and going all the way
Same
back.
language.
Without turning around, though. I want
Yeah.
to go back without turning around.
Right.
Seems like circles and spinning around are kind of common themes, I think.
Right? But this is without turning around. That's what your goal is. To be able to do it without turning around, whatever that
back
means.
the way I came.
Go ahead. Keep going.
That's it.
See, how do I get back to the beginning? Could you do that, please?
Interested in being able to figure out how to get back to where I started from.
Beginning, all right.
Without-
Back to, wait a minute, started from. Correction. Go ahead.
Without turning around and going all the way back.
Without turning around, right? Okay. Good.
Yeah.
Are certain themes reappearing?
Yes.
Certain states of mind, interesting here? All right. Now, the best thing to do